From the Star in Frisco in the Globe Life Studios, we welcome you into a brand new episode of Special Edition alongside Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, and Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. The Cowboys falling to the Cincinnati Bengals 27-20 on Monday Night Football. They prepare for their Week 15 matchup with the Carolina Panthers. And this is a week that's weird for the Cowboys. That's the best way to describe it, because you had some momentum. You were working in the right direction. You played pretty well in that Cincinnati game up until a special teams miscue at the end gives it to Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Cincinnati. You fall to 5-8, and you've got to somehow work your way back from a short week and take on a budding Carolina team, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But, Barry, what can a loss like that do to the morale of a locker room?
It could crush it. You know, it could crush the locker room. You look at what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys. They were on a 2-game win streak. Morale was super high, had a chance to make the postseason, and then, boom, you lose a game to the Cincinnati Bengals. And the way they lost that game to the Cincinnati Bengals, it could crush a team. But I don't see that happening with the Dallas Cowboys, because the leaders they have on this team and the coaching staff with Mike McCarthy always seems to be able to get the most out of his players, and they've been fighting for them regardless of wins or losses this season. So I don't see it crushing this locker room, but a weaker one, it could definitely do that.
Well, I hope that's not the case, Barry, but that's all I have is hope, because now your hope for the playoffs is pretty much gone. So now what do you get out of these players? Are these guys going to step up, or are they going to continue to compete, or are they going to try to say, oh, you know what, I got so many games left, so many quarters left before I'm on vacation? That's what you're going to have to be looking out for in this particular game. So, yeah, it could crush it, or these guys could just hang it up.
I just think they're a too competitive team. Mike has they've always rebounded behind Coach Mike McCarthy. Short week, get past it, come in there. Don't even worry about that film. Don't even worry about that play. Just go forward for the Carolina Panthers.
At least the track record is there for Mike McCarthy. After a loss, he's been very good. On a short week, he's 9-0 since 2022, so they've had some success in these short weeks. But they're going to have to do so without one of their leaders on the defensive side of the football. Demarvion Overshown out for the season, a right knee injury, torn ACL, MCL, and PCL in that right knee. It's the opposite knee that he suffered an injury with the preseason prior up in 2023. His rookie season cost him his entire rookie year, and now he's back in the rehab circuit. So, guys, I mean, this is heartbreaking for this Cowboys team, Isaiah, and now you lose one of your better players on defense.
It sucks, man. You saw the emotional reaction from all the players. That lets you know the impact that he's had in his young career. He hasn't played a lot of football for the Dallas Cowboys, but his impact that he's had is absolutely tremendous. It was unfortunate to lose him in the preseason last year. It's unfortunate to have him come on this team and physically play, lead by example, and now go down. Prayers up for him in his recovery.
You know, when you're going through a season like this, man, it's always somebody on that team. For us, it was Michael Irvin, and always upbeat, always willing to work, making practice fun. And this is what Overshown. He made everything about playing football a joy, like a little kid. So to lose him is a powerful thing.
Yeah, I'm with both of you guys on this one. It sucks overall, because you saw each and every week he was getting better and better as a defensive player. But knowing this guy, knowing his mentality, he'll attack this rehab, and he'll come back better than ever.
Here's what Mike Zimmer, the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, had to say about losing Overshown for the rest of the year.
Demo really, I think he's had an outstanding year. He's basically was a rookie coming in, and he's had a big impact on what we've done defensively. We've had some other packages that we kind of nixed because we didn't want to take him out of the game. So, it's a big loss. He's a great kid. Always got a smile on his face. He's very, very upbeat. So everyone feels sorry for him, understanding what he went through a year ago to get back to this point, and what kind of person he is. So.
You can sense the emotion from Mike Zimmer, as well as coaching staff shaken up with losing Demarvion Overshown. And all of our best wishes to Demo in his recovery. Hopefully it's speedy and effective, and we'll see him back out on the field very, very soon. Now, to a brighter spot for the Cowboys, despite the loss and despite the loss of Demarvion Overshown, has been the run game. Rico Dowdle now with back-to-back 100-yard games. Isaiah, this is huge for this offense to try and establish the run, something they haven't done in quite some time.
Shout out to the offensive line. Even though they've been playing musical chairs, they've been doing a good job collectively of having an impact on that line of scrimmage. And Rico Dowdle, as he's been doing this since training camp. He's been doing this since last year. The opportunities that he's been given, he takes full advantage of. When you give him the ball 20-plus times, this is what you get. And they need to continue to find a way to give him opportunities to make plays.
Rico Dowdle, man, the patience you run with has been great. Continue that patience, see the hole, go through the hole, explode through the tacklers. He's been doing a great job.
And they'll have to do so this week against the Carolina Panthers, a team that's given up traditionally some high rushing attacks throughout this 2024 season. When we come back on Special Edition, we dive into the film room. Dave Canales, as the head coach and play caller for the Carolina Panthers, has some things up his sleeve to try and get some confidence on the offensive side of the football behind his second-year quarterback and former top overall pick in the NFL draft, Bryce Young. That confidence is growing in Carolina. We'll talk about it right after this with more Special Edition.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Reliant, official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
Welcome back into Special Edition. Time to take a deep look at this Carolina Panthers team that enters with a 3-10 record, but close games against Kansas City, Tampa Bay, and then last week against Philadelphia have really changed the mind and the confidence level of the Panthers going into Week 15. Barry, I'll start with you. It's really all about Bryce Young, former top overall pick in the NFL draft, starting to find that confidence and a rhythm after a 1-7 start.
Yeah, after he got that starting job back from being benched, I mean, he's really taken off from there. If you look at it, what he's been able to do as far as manipulating the pocket, if you watch that Philadelphia game, we know how good they are getting after the passer, but he was able to manipulate that pocket, buy time for his receivers out there, Adam Thielen, Leggett, and those guys, and really make plays. We're starting to see what made him that first overall pick in Alabama, his playmaking ability out there. And he's doing it with a cast that's not filled with superstars out there. So to me, he's become more of an impressive quarterback, finding his weapons out there, getting the job done. The running game has helped him out as well, but Bryce Young is really starting to impress.
I think he's learned the system, and he's learning the system. I think he's getting more comfortable, he's getting more confident. Obviously, you know, what you just heard Barry say in terms of him moving in the pocket and finding those windows of opportunity. You always hear people saying, oh, he's a short quarterback, he can't throw behind these guys. He's finding them windows. It doesn't really matter, but he knows where he's going with the ball now. He's more decisive. He's not questioning. He's not releasing the ball late and waiting for guys to get open. He's anticipating, and that's why you're starting to see them be a lot more successful offensively.
I agree with you 100%, Isaiah. The kid's just learning the system, and now he knows it. Sometimes you have to go and take a step back to go forward. And when they put him on that pine just for a little bit, he took that to heart, started studying a little bit, and his anticipation is better.
And now the run game is starting to help him out as well. Chuba Hubbard back healthy. He's starting to make some strides in his own right. Nate, how big is this running attack going to be for the Cowboys to stop this week?
It's everything. The offensive line is predicated on that run game and that play action pass. They have some horses up front, and they got the running back in Chuba Hubbard to make it happen. He's a gritty runner, but he can also break it out into the open.
Yeah, he can run the rock for sure, but the thing that you need to be most concerned about from Chuba Hubbard, especially in this game, and especially with Demarvion Overshown no longer being available to you, is the passing game with him. He can get out of the backfield. You go back and watch the film, David Canales does a good job of putting him in a lot of situations where he's one-on-one with outside linebackers, and you better find a way to stick with him because he will run a wheel route and run right past you down the line and catch the ball over your head.
And we'll talk more about those weapons outside of the run game here in a couple of moments in film room, but I got to go to the defensive side. They do have Jadeveon Clowney. They have J.C. Horn, two guys, one as a pass rusher, one as a cornerback that are playing at a high level, but they still have given up more points per game than any other team in the NFL. Barry, what do they do well on the defensive side?
Well, you just mentioned it. Jadeveon Clowney and those guys, they're able to get after the passer well, but I love what they're doing in the secondary. When you watched that game last week against Philadelphia, you had J.C. Horn out there who was matched up against one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League in A.J. Brown pretty much the entire game and really shut him out. Held him to 4 catches for 43 yards. J.C. Horn is becoming one of the better corners in the National Football League. You get a couple more pieces along that defensive line to get after quarterbacks, then this defense can really shape into something special. But right now, I love what they're doing in the secondary.
And that's one thing that you got to look at is the way they've played over these last 3 weeks after their bye week. They've had a losing record with those 0-3 games, but it's a different level and against different offenses.
One possession.
Exactly, in all 3 of those games, by the way. So lots to break down on the defensive side, but when we come back, we hit the film room. How does Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette and company get things rolling because of the scheme in Carolina? We talk X's and O's with Isaiah Stanback when we come back.
This segment was brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. This segment is brought to you by the NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan.
We just finished talking about the Carolina Panthers' weapons on offense and how they've employed them and built some confidence behind not only Bryce Young at quarterback, but Dave Canales as a play caller and the head coach there in Carolina. Back alongside Isaiah Stanback. Isaiah, you had the opportunity to learn from Dave Canales as an assistant coach in Seattle. How has he taken some of those lessons and some of those instances and built a system out of it in Carolina?
I can tell you what, I had a short stint in Seattle, but the thing is, David Canales was there, and I used to ask him every day on my way out to practice, hey, quiz me, give me some kind of test, right? Try to stump me in terms of the offense. And he was such a student of the game. He's passionate, and he's taken that knowledge base, but now he's put his own spin on it, right? So he's a West Coast at the core, but now he has the freedom and the leverage to have all the creativity, and he's doing it right now with the Carolina Panthers, and that's why they've been succeeding as of late. I want to take it to the board. This play is absolutely amazing. In order to understand exactly what's taking place, you need to understand the assignments of the defense. This is cover 2 defense. These are the responsibilities of the cornerbacks. Okay, these are going to be the linebackers. These guys have hook drops right here. That's his space. That's his space. And these guys are responsible for a half of the field. That is the responsibilities. He can't go past 5 yards. He can't go past 5 yards. He's responsible for about 10 yards, and he can't go past 5. He can't go past 5. Okay, now that you guys understand exactly what that is, now let's talk about what is going to happen on this particular play. As I play this out, one of the things we're going to talk about right here is this motion at the top of the screen. Don't worry about that right now. I want you guys to pay attention to it. If we know that down here, my responsibility is this 5 yards of the field, and my responsibility is being responsible for this hook drop and really anything in this window right here. Now, all of a sudden, I know that if I run a route that takes this guy, or goes right in front of this guy's face, he has to take it, right? So let's play it out. Boom, right there. Right now, you guys see Adam Thielen right here at the bottom of your screen. Adam Thielen is literally grabbing this cornerback, right? I said this cornerback has to take this space right here. He does that. We talk about now this man on the inside, this slot defender. He has to be responsible for what? This 5 yards in this space right here. But he can't go beyond that, okay? So let's go ahead and play it out a little bit more. Another thing that's happening right here, this safety has his eyes on these 2 receivers, okay? I'm gonna run it back just a little bit. Whoop. These 2 receivers, that's his responsibility. 1 and 2, all right? If those guys go vertical, he has to take them, right? This guy's now responsible for them. But the moment that he sees that these guys are staying in this 5-yard window right here, his eyes now have to go from here. Now he's going to see if there's anybody that's coming across the field from the backside, which we call a cutter, okay? This guy comes across the field. He's now gonna cut and take this man so that he can no longer come across the middle of the field. So this is no longer vacant, all right? So what happens on this play? We see at the bottom of the screen, boom, both of these guys go out. Okay, as soon as they go out, we know these 5-yard defenders now do what? They play their 5 yards. But what happens with this guy? His attention goes where? At the safety position, across the middle of the field. So he's no longer paying attention here. So as we clear the screen, let's play it out. He now jumps this, right? This safety jumps this over route, okay? This over route is coming. But what happens here? We run a whip route. I consume the cornerback because that's his responsibility. I now know that this guy has to stay where? In this 5-yard range, okay? So now that he has to stay in the 5-yard range, I'm gonna run a whip route on the outside. I'm gonna run into this vacant window in the middle. I'm gonna run a nice little out and up, and I have the entire sideline now because the attention of this safety is going to the cutter because of what happened on this front side of the play. Absolutely amazing on that, but that's not all. I'm gonna take you guys to the top of the screen. What happens here when we do a motion? Motion outside. I know that it's cover 2, so it's same thing responsibility-wise. This cornerback at the top of the screen has what? Has to stay here, okay? This guy has to do what? Has to stay here in this 5 yards. Okay, so now that I know the responsibilities, let's go ahead and go through it. Boom, pause it.
As the guy who just came out in motion, I'm now going to run across your face. I know that you cannot go past this range, okay? You can't go past this range. You have to stay here. So now that I know that, I'm going to go to the vacant space. As a safety right here, I know that you have to keep an eye on this guy in the middle of the field who's deciding to run an over route. So now I'm taking two guys with this guy, right? One guy here because of this guy that's running the over route. Okay, so now there's an open window of space right here. Now, the ball doesn't go there, but I want you to look at the top of the screen. Wide open right here. So he had an option there, he has an option here, and this safety is playing too low, so there's really an option there as well. David Canales does an amazing job of presenting options, not only in the intermediate and the short routes, but over the top, and you have to be aware of it. Bryce Young's starting to figure it out.
That's the thing, is it's all layers and it's options to make it easy on your young quarterback. Bryce Young starting to show that growth, starting to show that ability to get the ball out and find his weapons. The Cowboys defense has a challenge coming their way this week. But who are some of the players you're going to keep an eye on as the season winds down? 4 games remain. Is Micah Parsons in a new leadership role? We'll talk about it right after this with more Special Edition.
This segment was brought to you by the NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan.
Welcome back into Special Edition. Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeoman. It's time now to take a look at the final 4 games of the year. Whether you go to the playoffs or not, you're learning things about the Cowboys roster. Who are the players to watch as we go into these final few games? I'll start with you, Nate Newton. Who are you keeping a close eye on?
Luke Schoonmaker, second-round pick of last year, tight end who Barry loves to death.
boy.
I've been watching him. He's been catching passes. He's been running nice routes. His blocking needs to improve, and I will be keep an eye on him, and I will be sending a word through the tight end coach. Pick up your blocking, son.
I'm going to keep my eye on Mr. Micah Parsons, number 11. He is your playmaker on defense, but more so, how is he going to approach these games that are pretty much pointless at this point, right? You're not making the playoffs most likely. So what is going to be your opportunity for leadership? How are you going to execute in that regard? Everybody's going to be watching you. Are you going to show up or are you going to cash it in?
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and keep my eye on Brock Hoffman, Nate's boy over here on the offensive line, the feisty offensive lineman. Since he's been able to fill in for Zach Martin, he's really taken that role, and he's really performed well on that offensive line. You kind of have to have guys like that on your O-line when you're going against guys you want to be in the foxhole with. So, to me, these last couple games, if I'm not mistaken, he is a free agent coming up, correct? So he's got to perform these last couple games to try to get another deal here or elsewhere. So I'm keeping my eye on Brock Hoffman and what he can do if he has a future here with the Dallas Cowboys.
No, and that's a crucial piece because depending on what happens there with Brock Hoffman, you got to figure out what you're doing in the draft this year. You've got offensive linemen that could be available in the middle of that first round that could be starters for you moving forward. But if Brock Hoffman's here, I think he's earned that opportunity, and he'll have to continue to do so down the final month of the regular season. When we come back, Cowboys, Panthers at noon this week on Fox. Who is the key to the game? Could it be CeeDee Lamb and this passing attack for the Cowboys to get back on track?
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today. And to watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
We've been able to get the run going for sure. Those guys up front have been playing their asses off. You know, Brock coming in, TJ coming in. We've had a couple guys, Chuma coming in. O-line has been banged up, but those guys came in and made the most of their opportunities, and it's been working well for us over these past couple weeks.
Could Rico Dowdle continue the success and possibly put together his 3rd straight 100-yard game? He'd be the first Cowboys running back since 2019 and Ezekiel Elliott to do so. As we wrap up Special Edition, that could be one key to the game. Barry, what's your keys to the game?
Find out where number 19, Adam Thielen, is at all times. I mean, he's been on a tear these past couple weeks, and if you're able to slow him down, you slow that Carolina offense down.
It's time for this offense to wake up in the passing game. These guys play a lot. They play far off in the secondary. Their coverage skills are not great. Go ahead and take advantage of that and get some yardage.
On the road, you have to have a run game with a bunch of touchdowns, and that's what it'll take to win this game.
No doubt about it. Do they win the game, though, Isaiah? Or Nate,
yes,
sorry.
Sir.
Yeah, I need Nate to tell me.
Yeah, they will win the game. And you know what? We're looking for that 67-yard field goal. I think this is going to do it outdoors.
Whoa,
yes, sir. By
very
1
nice.
point.
We'll see you next week on Special Edition.